Let's take you to the Joburg CBD now, where Wednesday's explosion caused significant damage to streets and utilities. And this is, of course, causing a lot of headaches for residents, and that's just really putting it mildly. Our reporter Ziniko Mhlaba is watching developments and joins us now live from the Joburg inner city. And Ziniko, just behind you there, we can see that the damage is still quite extensive. Several technical briefings around what happened, but we're still none the wiser about, in fact, how this led to an explosion. Yes, gas underpinned the damage itself. But where did it come from?
That's still a question that has not been answered, Ayanda, in terms of what really caused this particular explosion, besides the fact that we know now that it was related to gas. Well, the officials are still on site, they're still investigating, and actually they've been here since the early hours of this morning. I'm just going to step out of shot so that can give you a sense of how the situation remains the same as far as the damage on this particular road is looking like. But now what the city or what the officials are trying to do, they're trying to fence off this particular street known as Lilengoli, formerly known as the Bree Street. They're trying to fence it off so that members of the public are not able to access it. But in terms of how far the city or the officials are with the work, remember that there was that deadline that was said that by Monday at least some basic services such as water, electricity will be restored. So let's get a sense from the city manager, Mr. Brink, to get a sense of whether residents will have water by tomorrow as promised. Mr. Brink, thank you very much for joining us. How far are we in terms of ensuring that the deadline set for tomorrow is actually realized?
I can indicate to you that our teams for Joburg Court as well as City Power, they are already on site. We're just waiting for the area to be declared safe completely. We can indicate to you now and to the residents that the area between Lillian and Ngoi, between your Loveday and Elof, up to Van Brandes, that area is already declared safe. That one is fine. The gas on those particular areas have been closed off and isolated completely. So now the work that we now need to do is, once that is declared safe, we can then start to send our teams. But it's important to know that Department of Labour also submitted a prohibition notice to us. We will have to work very closely with them because they also have a role to play here. So we've agreed yesterday when we signed for that notice that in order for them to do their work, they will really have to work closely with us. What we do not want to do is to miss that particular deadline that we've set, because it's a human rights issue for us and it's all about dignity.
I mean, looking at the work that has been done in the past 72 hours or so, in terms of trying to pin the actual source of that blast, how far is that going? Do you have a clearer view of what might have caused this explosion in the first place?
We can definitely indicate to you that it's gas. We also detected now 2 asbestos pipes, and in there's also some cables there. We've isolated that asbestos pipes. We've tested there for methane. We got the methane. We are now ventilating that particular area in order for that to subside into the atmosphere. We've got a team of environmental health that is on site. Our teams in emergency management services, EMS, they're playing a critical role in terms of testing, working with the technical teams in order for us to be able to detect what is it that is happening on those particular areas there.
All right. Earlier on, as we were parked just on the other side of this particular street, we saw some residents moving out. I mean, do you still believe that it's not necessary for people to be leaving this premise, especially along this Lilengoli street? How far is the picture in terms of clarifying the safety of these properties?
Yeah, so what we have done is we sent in a team, one, to do some proper testing within the basements of these high-rise buildings in particular. And we can indicate to you all those areas have been declared safe. That's from a gas perspective. We then also sent in another team of technical experts, civil and structural engineers, with the building controls officer, the BCO of the City of Johannesburg, environmental health. They did not just do an assessment, they physically went into the buildings floor per floor, looking for structural issues and so on. And those are the ones that also assisted us to then indicate that indeed the integrity of the buildings at this point, it's not in question. But it's clear, if you look at where the collapse happened and the distance between where the foundation and the basements are, it is clear that there's no damages to the buildings. And reports will be submitted in this regard. So we're only working on those that will be able to give us professional indemnity, public indemnity, we must be clear. So we are working on reports. It's not just something that we woke up and indicated that these buildings are safe. So the teams are working on site. Those that are moving out, look, it's human nature. As and when there's a disaster like this, some of these people might feel that they're still unsafe. We interviewed those. Our social development and human settlements is working closely with the people in the area. And some have indicated that, for themselves, they would want to move to family and other friends. And from our side as a city, we cannot really stop them from doing that. But I mean, for us is to provide that level of comfort, technical and otherwise, to indicate what it is that we have seen professionally and so forth.
Just lastly, Mr. Brink, in terms of resources now to try to rebuild this particular infrastructure which has been compromised, how far have engagements gone with Treasury, with the city itself, as government, and do you have that money to be able to rebuild this particular road and the underneath infrastructure? How far have conversations gone in that respect?
So already there's one national department that came forward that indicate that they might assist us also. But it's formal processes, it's intergovernmental relations processes through your national treasury, other departments like your national public works and others. There's probably certain grants that we will have to look at. But as things stand now, we would also then go and reprioritize within. This is an emergency, so we are not going to come back and indicate that the road will be closed for a number of months or years due to resources. We will have to do everything and anything in our power from an IGR perspective and within our own resources in the city of Johannesburg to be able to deploy those resources in order for us to be able to reconstruct this area. We will look at lessons learned and benchmarking. A similar incident happened in New York, they said about 45 years ago. And this will be an opportune time for us when we reconstruct to look at certain innovations and different ways of constructing here, but also how and what it is that we would need in these underground tunnels and how we would want to set up. We can then use technology and really focus on this particular area.
Very, very last, Mr. Brink. I mean, some experts have been saying that the infrastructure that has been compromised here is pretty old. It's over a century. So in terms of rebuilding this, are we looking at fixing or maintaining the existing damaged infrastructure, or is this going to be an opportunity now to start building new infrastructure?
Look, it's quite preliminary at this stage, and it's difficult to express an opinion. Indeed, we've got aging infrastructure in the city of Johannesburg, like any other city or any other province. But this will be an opportune time for us to really focus on this area. I can say to you now, by just looking at it, it will not just be about maintaining and doing preventative maintenance here. I think and I believe, and like I said, it's preliminary at this stage, there will be a high level of reconstruction in this area with regard to the different types of infrastructure underneath. Whether it will be your stormwater, whether it will be any water infrastructure, for city power as well. And like we've indicated the other day, there's quite a lot that's happening underneath in terms of infrastructure. There's also telecom lines here. There's also lines, gas lines for Igoli gas. So it will all be about stakeholder management. But this is an opportune time for us to be able then to indicate what it is that we would want to do here and showcase the best when it comes to that particular point. All within budget, all within the resources. So we will have to really get a balancing act as we are moving forward.
Mr. Brink, thank you very much, sir, for your time.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
City Manager there of the Johannesburg Council, Mr. Brink, explaining to us the extent of the problem. But his last words is about ensuring that when it comes to fixing this particular infrastructure which has been damaged, a lot of work is going to go into that. But also the finance is saying that there is a possibility that there's one portfolio that is promised to or committed to assist in terms of financing whatever rebuilding work that will be done on this particular street. This is Lillian Goyi, and of course it's popularly known as Bree Street, a very, very busy street in terms of public transportation, where they are coming from the West Rand, coming from the East, coming from Soweto. Definitely use this particular road as you head to your different rank, whether it's Bree or North. That's where we are, Ayanda, for now.
Yeah, and really sobering to see it so still, despite how busy it would be typically around this time of the weekend. It shows you just how disruptive that explosion was. Ziniko Mhlaba, live to us there from the Johannesburg inner city. Thanks very much indeed.